Yo, what is going on, Comfy Gang? It's your boy Comfy Neat here. So, are you guys ready for an extremely brutal video? A video that's, probably gonna make you extremely depressed if you can relate to anything that I'm about to say, or, possibly make you just shake your head and say, it's over. So, well, if you are, then you're in the right place, because this video is going to be dedicated to, my love life and my relationship experience, which some of you have asked me to talk about, but more specifically, the fact that I've never actually been in a relationship in my entire life, and that my love life is entirely non-existent, all in my imagination. So first things first, what this video is not going to be about is why I've never been in a relationship. I know you guys are probably wondering how this is possible given how sexy I am and that I have a 200 plus IQ. I'm just drowning in fucking dollar bills. I wipe my ass with, $100 bills and all that, I'm a baller, so I really don't know why I don't have a girlfriend. I mean, you probably saw the really sexy, seductive smile I put at the beginning of this video, so it's really a mystery to everybody, to be honest. But obviously I'm joking. But the reasons why I've never been in a relationship are probably kind of redundant. It's basically everything that I've talked about in this channel. If you guys do want to hear about this, or if I run out of video topics, I'll probably make a separate video on that topic specifically. But what this video is going to be about is the subjective experience of not being in a relationship, and more specifically all of the things that I guess struggles or like kind of funny observations that people who've never been in a relationship go through, as well as I guess the overall experience of it. So anyways, without further ado, I'm going to begin the video. So, well, the first thing that seems to bother most people, and in some cases me, is just the lack of intimacy and companionship. And I don't mean this in a sexual way. I'm not talking about ramming it in there and experiencing pleasure, nirvana. I'm really more talking about all of the other stuff, all of the romantic feelings, the lovey-dovey stuff, when you're spooning in bed with your girlfriend and she whispers into your ear that you're the best she's ever had, and that she loves you and all that stuff. I'm sure a lot of people care about that stuff, and I certainly would like to experience that genuinely at least once in my life. And I know that aspect of relationships definitely bothers a lot of people that have never been in a relationship ever. And that's pretty understandable. But I think through the power of mental gymnastics and growing older and having my emotions numbed through years of social isolation and needdom, I feel like it doesn't bother me as much as it used to, though it might eventually bother me when I'm approaching my 30s and all of a sudden want to get married and all that. I don't feel like I'll ever experience that, but who honestly knows? I feel like I'm pretty good at coping, but we'll see. So anyways, the second thing that bothers people and bothers me sometimes as well is, the inability of most NEETs and most people who have never really been in relationships to bust a fat nut. I'm sorry. But a fat nut. Okay, I'm actually retarded. I just fucked my throat there, but oh shit. Sorry. I apologize for all the swearing. I'll try not to swear anymore. Busting a fat nut is a primal desire for every single human being. And I feel like it's definitely way more frequent and way more powerful in males. Actually, I think it's equal for both, but it's just that males definitely have a harder time doing it, just because it's so friggin' hard to date women when you're a man versus dating men when you're a woman. You can try and change my mind on this, but I'm pretty sure it's I'm pretty right about this. But anyways, yeah, we all have this desire to release that tension, and when you are unable to do that, then it can definitely lead to a lot of frustration. And I'm sure that a lot of people can relate. Obviously, this has been bothering me to a while, and while choking the chicken to naughty videos online might be a temporary band-aid fix to the situation, I feel like it doesn't scratch that underlying itch, and it's ultimately sort of leaves you feeling hollow and empty at the end of it. So I feel like in that sense, yeah, that's definitely another struggle for people who've never been in relationships. Though, at the same time, it also is bothering me less nowadays, and that's simply because of my addiction to anime girls. And I feel like, in a sense, that has allowed me to cope by making me, fall in love with anime girl form, which is, I don't know, kind of fucked in the head, to be honest. But yeah, anyways, that's the second thing. Another thing would, I think for me, this is probably the biggest, the hardest part of it is probably, all of the stigma associated with not having ever been in a relationship. Because, for instance, what's the first thing that people ask you when they're trying to get to know you as a person? Well, it might not be the exact first thing, but one of the things they always ask you is, do you have a girlfriend? It's it's probably the most commonly asked question in the world, to be honest. And well, I think the reason for this is because being in a relationship is, I think, a huge part of your social resume, because it definitely, having been in one or not having been in one, and also how you answer this question, definitely says a lot about you as a person. And when you're not a virgin, I think people automatically, and for the most part rightly so, jump to different conclusions about you. For example, if you've never been in a relationship before, you're probably most likely mentally ill, are not very good looking, which I guess is pretty obvious to most people. But at the same time, it confirms the fact that you probably don't have anything else that can make up for that lack of looks that will at least get you into a relationship. And I'm not saying that these things will allow you to experience things like genuine love and all that, but I think it at least will sort of get you into the door into a relationship, especially if you're not truly ugly beyond all hope, which I don't think I am. I think I'm average looking, but anyways, yeah, so there's a lot of stigma. And I think another assumption that people make about you is the fact that if you've never been in a relationship, then you are most likely a virgin. And I think, again, this is probably mostly right, except in my case, I just happen to be one of those few people who got lucky when I was in my early 20s, specifically when I was 20. I had a handful of one night escapades and managed to lose it that way. But at the same time, it's not like I can actually say this to people that, oh, hey, do you have a girlfriend? No, actually, well, I don't have a girlfriend, but I did manage to lose my virginity, to pop my cherry, lose my V card to some random chick I met at Asian karaoke night with my bros. And it was I wasn't even that attracted to her, but I think we both just wanted to. I think she just wanted a little bit of fun, and I just wanted to go through the motions and not be ostracized for being a quote unquote virgin. Why did I say quote unquote? It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, obviously with me saying this, there is actually a huge amount of stigma associated with being a virgin, because well, I think it, on a fundamental level, on the deepest level of everything, basically signifies to people that you are genetically subpar as an individual, and probably either for mental reasons or for physical reasons. And yeah, I think that's a huge thing. And then on top of that, I think one recent development is the actions of a few individuals in the I guess, am I allowed to say this, the incel community, who I will not name except by their initials, ER and AM. I'm sure there's others out there, but those are probably the two most notable examples. And I think there are sort of a few more examples of that. And I definitely don't condone any violence, and I'm pretty sure most of the people in that community don't condone the violence, though they do sympathize with the sort of overall underlying condition which led to that sort of behavior, which is not justifying behavior at all. But yeah, I think because of the actions of these individuals, it definitely further worsened the stigma to people who have never done it before. And I guess by extension, given the fact that most people will assume that you are a virgin if you have never been in a relationship, I think all of the stigma that comes with being a virgin carries over to the people who have never been in a relationship. So yeah, I think that's another big issue. I'm just gonna fuck my throat. Okay, my voice is kind of tired now, but I think another issue is the fact that not being in a relationship creates this negative feedback loop because of all of the aforementioned stigma that I talked about. Because I feel like with each passing year that you've never been in a relationship, it becomes exponentially harder and harder past the age of 18 to get into one, because the stigma just compounds and compounds. It gets worse and worse. It definitely feels that way. And yeah, because I feel like it's one of these, again, societal expectations, which is probably influenced by human biology, that you basically should be in a relationship and should lose your virginity by the age of 18. And every year past that age that you don't do either of these things, then the stigma increases, which makes people treat you worse and worse, which in turn makes it harder to solve the issue of the underlying cause of the stigma, which is the lack of either of these two things, or the lack of experience in either of these two things. And therefore, another problem is that I guess it's kind of like this sort of a black hole that once you cross this event horizon of 18 years of age, I'm lucky, by the way. I'm like one of the few exceptions of people who managed to actually lose their V card. But at the same time, I still experience all the struggles that come with like not being in a relationship, as far as like difficulties getting into one. But yeah, I think that's another thing. Like once you cross this event horizon, it just becomes impossible to get out of it, to escape the black hole of relationshipness and relationshiplessness. And I guess for people who are even worse off than me, not losing your V card and becoming a wizard. But yeah, I'm just gonna rest my throat for a bit because my voice is kind of tired. Shit. You know what? I'm just gonna get up and close and intimate with you guys and talk quieter, so I can rest my voice. Anyways, another difficulty, I guess, that I've noticed personally, and I think it probably has to do with maybe the lack of masculine features on my face, and maybe the way I act sometimes, because I'm completely straight, okay? But I feel like when you've never been in a relationship, like I was saying before, people make all sorts of assumptions about you, and one of these assumptions is basically the fact that you come across as incredibly suspect, incredibly sus, amogus. I'm actually fucking retarded. I shouldn't be making these jokes, given that I'm 25, but I'm actually fucked in the head, but I'm sorry. People, like, for example, the moment like women find this out about you, for example, I feel like they automatically assume that you're some sort of like um you're some sort of serial as in, inter intercourse, can I say that? Starved individual who's, foaming at the mouth like some rabid dog, and who's probably going to assault them at some point, even though I'm pretty sure most people are really desire that sort of stuff mostly for the relationship and like intimate aspect of it. And shit, I'm actually really losing my voice. And yeah, and even ironically, it doesn't just stop at women, it even like comes from guys, because I feel like it's not, I guess, if like a dude actually asks me who I'm like close to, then obviously I can explain to them the fact that I actually did manage to lose it. But I guess when you're like meeting, when you're meeting normies, or you're not talking to people on the internet, it's not like you can just like say that you lost your virginity that way. So, they automatically, yeah, especially because I feel like there is stigma associated with, losing it to a one night stand, and also the fact that you're kind of expected to lose it within the context of a relationship for good reason, which I'll get to later in the video. But yeah, I think guys also will assume you're sus, that you basically want it up the butthole. And there's nothing you can really do to counteract these judgments from either men or women. So yeah, I think it's pretty messed up. So I think that's another observation that I've made. And another thing, like, yeah, and another thing is that well, like I was saying earlier, about that sort of expectation that you quote unquote have it for the first time within a relationship. I feel like that exists for a reason, and that's because well, you're I guess, I'll just talk briefly about what I went through, but basically in my mind, before I did it for the first time, I was hyping it out to be some sort of like mind-blowing spiritual experience that would like lift me out of all of the problems of my life. It would fucking lift me out of poverty. It would, I felt like once I unleashed my load, it would unleash the shackles on my ankles that were holding me back from life, and I would just ascend to a higher plane of existence, and bathe in fucking, I don't know, just bathe in the light and be able to be one with the normies. But even then, even after I, luckily managed to bust my nut that way, it really didn't change anything. Like, if anything, I didn't really enjoy it the first time I did it. And because well, I feel like it's really just completely different from what you expect out of a film, like a naughty video, because the camera angles are extremely exaggerated to make it more appealing to the human eye. And then there's the fact that there's another person in front of you and all that. I won't get into too much detail about it. Maybe I'll talk about my first time having cereal in another video if I can find a way to talk about it without actually being too explicit. But yeah, what I'm trying to get at is that I think if you were to actually, I think your first time is really maybe this is all because I'm like low testosterone, but I feel like it's like one of those things that is made like infinitely better when you're doing it with someone you're like head over heels in love with. And I feel like when you don't have your first time with someone like that, then it's like there's that sort of like lack of communication and like intimacy, and staring into each other's eyes and like having all these emotions. And I feel like it's a lot of those like really like emotions that you experience when you're actually in love with somebody is what makes the act of cereal so great, especially when it's your first time. Obviously, it's still not bad, especially when you do it more and more. But until then, especially during your first time, you don't have that experience. So, well, my voice is throat's starting to hurt. Shit. But yeah, it's like, yeah, it's like it's kind of like meh, like your first time. And yeah, I think, and in some ways, even after, like, I enjoyed it like more and more progressively as I managed to experience more of it, I feel like it'll never be on the same like level as someone who, like, kind of like recalling to those days when I actually used to fall in love with like girls, like in like middle school or high school, those sort of like really intense emotions. I'm sure those emotions would make the active serial so much better versus when when you're doing it without that. It's basically, in a way, nothing more than just, it's like a better form of choking the chicken, but you know it's still like probably nowhere near as good as it would be if you were in love with the person. So in that sense, I still do kind of consider myself a virgin in that way, because I never got to experience those like really, yeah, the whole like spiritual aspect of it. And yeah, I'm just kind of laughing at all the retarded shit I just said talking about this. But anyways, the last thing that I want to talk about is the fact that yeah, aside from like the stigma of like the expectation of having to be in a relationship, I think one extension of this is the fact that there's a lot of activities out there, like going to movies, like what else, like eating out, even like eating in restaurants. Like you're kind of expected to do this with like a significant other, especially past a certain age. And unless you're doing it with like with the bros, but I don't really have like any like real life friends, so I can't really do that. But it's just more like, yeah, like aside from like bros, like the person who you're expected to like do all these sorts of activities with is like a girlfriend. And when you don't have that, then it's kind of like weird, especially when like you want to like eat out, then you mostly just resort to like getting takeout, because at least that's considered normal. Or like movies, like you end up just out, you end up just like watching Netflix instead of like actually going to a movie theater and experiencing like the better audio and like the better like video quality, or like cinematography, or even just like the whole like ambience of it is what makes it enjoy a little bit more enjoyable than like home theater. And it can actually like make a pretty like mediocre movie actually seem like more enjoyable. But yeah, like just all these things that you basically miss out on because like you're not in a relationship, and you don't have that excuse to not do all these things and not do all these activities. And I feel like that's another thing that people not in a relationship miss out. I think the only positive thing about this is that people who have never been in a relationship, especially if you're like a sub 8 male, or like a not very like, not like basically not a Chad, is that the fact that you get to save a lot of money. Because when you're not like hideously ugly, but you're not like extremely attractive, then obviously there's going to be a lot of whining and dining involved in the relationship. And I think the one silver lining is the fact that you get to save a shitload of money. Not that I could ever afford it in the first place, but yeah, I think that's maybe one, trying to like half glass half full sort of perspective. So anyways, I feel like that's all I have to say at this point. I probably rambled like way too much, and this video is pretty long already as it is, so I'll probably cut it off here. And it's probably all over the place, so hopefully it makes sense at least. But yeah, I don't really know what I'm saying anymore. My voice is really tired, so yeah. This is Company signing out. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button down below if you enjoyed this video, and peace.